You finally got the raise that you were so excited about for months, and when you check your account, it's already gone, and you cannot remember what you spent it on. What tends to happen is you get a raise, and then all of these little things that you've been wanting for however long just keep stacking up, and you just have to get them right then and there. This is the typical series of events that'll occur. You get your raise, it's a nice little bonus, a couple dollars an hour or something, and then you got like a few months of feeling like you have some extra breathing room. Expenses aren't hitting you quite as hard, and then little by little, you start spending just a bit more money on some nice quality of life upgrades. You get the newest iPhone, your wardrobe gets nicer, get some little accessories here and there for your car or something. Throw in some DoorDash instead of cooking food because you deserve it. And you come up with excuses for why you need these little upgrades. I mean, in of themselves, if they were on their own, you could probably make the excuse, but they start to compound on top of each other, and then you have a real problem. So now a few months have gone by, and you are basically earning exactly what you were before. You've made up that whole raise, or rather you've filled that whole gap with new expenses. Even worse is if you have less than what you had before. And now the really unfortunate part is if you decide to reverse some of that stuff, get rid of these nice things that you just bought, you're gonna feel like you just lost something. But in reality, you weren't supposed to add them to begin with. This is what is called lifestyle creep, because it sneaks up on you. And it's not completely your fault, though it mostly is. I like to bring up social media in all of my videos because I think it's horrendous for people. And I'm gonna do it again. Social media makes you think that you gotta catch up to everybody else with your possessions, with the things you own. It's an endless battle to try to compete for ownership of things. And on top of that, a lot of people will do things like financing, which is just horrendous. It makes it feel very painless in the moment because you don't really have to have much, if any, upfront payment, but you really pay for that down the line. And everybody loves to reinforce the, treat yourself kind of mindset. And there's a degree of truth to that, but it can't just be a permanent change. Like treating yourself is like a short-term kind of one-time thing. It's not intended to be like part of your new monthly expenses. You're not treating yourself like once a week indefinitely when you're treating yourself. Okay, and I'll give you guys one statistic because I can't help myself when it comes to these financial videos. I have to include at least something. About 40% of people pulling in over $500,000 a year say they live paycheck to paycheck. That is not even funny, to be honest. That is unbelievable. That is the perfect representation, though, of what lifestyle creep is. Spending way more money than you need to be because you started making more money. But this is a really important point because clearly, if these people are making $500,000 a year, $500,000 a year, I'm trying to think of how to say what I'm trying to say, but if they can't be satisfied, how are you going to be satisfied on like a $70,000 to $100,000 a year salary, if that? The lifestyle creep solution is not going to solve your problems if it can't solve theirs, is the point I'm trying to make. And I think everybody falls prey to this to at least some degree, at some point in their life, just a bit. I know I have. Not to a substantial degree, but I have. There's a fix to all this, though. And the fix is that all this extra money that's coming into your account, dump it into investments, all right? That is your gift. That's how you're going to treat yourself. Watch that investment account grow, and that will be quite the treat. But it will really be a treat in like a couple decades when it's a substantial amount. Try to turn your focus away from the short term and more toward the long term, at least the medium term. So when you get your next raise, do not spend more of your money on things that you want. If you do, be very moderate with it. Dedicate most of it to investments if you can. Emergency fund first if you haven't already. And then ultimately you'll gain the real kind of freedom, which is not having to worry about money if you do it properly early on. I'll leave it at that. Subscribe for more.